Welcome back to the 24 Days of Personal Branding Challenge. It's day 17, and today we're getting clear on your professional name or stage name, your business names, and the names of your offers. You'll know how to craft your names that stand out and attract your ideal customer or clients. Plus, I'll share how to ensure your name doesn't get you into any legal trouble. So, the first name that I want to talk about is your legal name. Your legal name is what legally your name is, right? It's what you use for anything legal, administrative, or other official purposes. It's generally the name that you're given at birth. So it's on your birth certificate, although it can change, such as if you get married or you choose to change your legal name. So the questions I want you to answer is, what is your legal name? Actually, we're going to go into those after. Okay. So I changed the order I did these in. Sorry. Okay, so that's what a legal name is. What is a professional name or a stage name? So a professional name or a stage name is an alias that you use for your public image. So you have any sort of, if you're an influencer or you're just business owner, but you are public facing, or you're an author or actor, musician, you might consider having a professional name or a stage name. This can be similar to your legal name, or it can be completely different. So there's 4 reasons that I pointed out that you might want to use a professional or a stage name. Number 1 is if you want to protect you and or your family's privacy. If what you're doing is somewhat public, but maybe you want to keep your family's identities private, or they're not interested in being public, then you may choose to have a professional name or stage name. You might want to use a name that better aligns with your public image you want to portray, or it might be catchier. You'll see this a lot with like pop stars, that they'll use a name that is different, but it's a lot more catchy. Number 3, you want to use a name that's easier to remember, pronounce, and or spell. So you could say, for example, with my name, Azalee, that is kind of hard to remember and spell. I could potentially want to use one of my nicknames instead. Or maybe if you have wherever you're currently at, and where you're building your public image isn't, your name isn't from that culture. So you may use a different name for that location, right? And number 4 is if you've already established yourself with a different name. So for example, me, when I get married, I'll change my name, but publicly, I'll probably still keep it as it is because my degrees have my current name on it, all my social media, my website. I'm already somewhat known with that name. So in that case, it might make sense to have a different public name versus your actual legal name. So when you're choosing all of these different names, there's a couple of tips that I want to give you. So number 1 is to keep your ideal client in mind when you're choosing your names. So think about what they would be attracted to, what makes sense based on who you're speaking to. Number 2 is to consider choosing a name that's easy to spell and pronounce. So like I was saying, my name is a little hard to spell and hard to pronounce. So it might make sense if you're someone like me to choose a stage name that is easier, right? Number 3 is to keep your vibe and voice in mind when choosing your name. So if I'm a very feminine, girly brand, I'm not going to name my business like something crazy and scary, right? PrettyAF makes sense for who I am and what I'm doing. Number 4 is to choose names that make it easy to know what you offer. So anytime you can name something that makes it clear what you're doing, that is always helpful. So for example, I use PrettyAF Powerhouse, but then for the podcast, it's called the PrettyAF Powerhouse podcast, right? It's super clear what it is. And then we also will have a subtitle that makes it even more clear. And then number 5 is to conduct your research. So when you're choosing your names, you'll want to ensure the name isn't already taken. I've listed some tools in the workbook, which if you haven't signed up for the free challenge yet, you just need to put your name and your email in the link below, and you'll be able to get access to the workbook and all the replays. With these tools, I definitely recommend reaching out to a lawyer for additional support, as I'm not a lawyer and this isn't legal advice. So if there's a trademark already on the name that you're considering using, that would be an issue. So I've listed a tool that you can use that you're able to search for trademarks. And trademarks are for the specific things. So for example, if you have a podcast and you have notebooks and you want to use the same name for both, you would need a trademark for each one. Number 2 is don't search for the domain. So if you go to Bluehost, which is the hosting platform I use, you can search for what domains are available. So you want to kind of decide if you're going to use your name or your business name or both for your actual website and for your social media handles. Ideally, everything matches. So I would say either use your name across everything or your business across everything or both. And so I've included how you can search for if the domain's available, and how you can search if where the social media handle is available as well. And then you'll also want to just Google, to see if that name is currently being used for something similar to what you're wanting to use it for. If, for example, I decided I want to name my marketing agency, which is what it's called, the PrettyAF agency, and I search that, and there's already another marketing agency named that, I'm probably want to reconsider that, right? So just search, especially for the things that you're thinking about using it for. Okay, so we went into what is a legal name versus what is a stage name and why you might want to use a stage name. So now these are some questions to answer to help you figure out what you're going to use as far as between your legal name and your stage name. So first off, what's your legal name? And again, all these questions are in the workbook that you can download. Are you going to go by your legal name publicly? And will this change in the future? So I want you to start thinking about if your name is going to change at some point, say you're going to get married and change your name, are you going to change it publicly at that point? Are you going to change it publicly now? Are you going to keep it? You want to just kind of know in general what you plan on doing, especially if you're going to be grabbing the domains for things, grabbing the usernames for things, or are you going to go by a stage name? If you're going to go by a stage name, what name are you going to go by? And then if you are changing what you're going to be referring to yourself publicly, is there anywhere that you need to change your name? So it might be on your website, your social media, if you have an about written, you want to make sure everything is consistent and you're using the same name everywhere. So once you have what your actual name is going to be publicly, you're going to want to choose a company name. So what is that? Okay. So when you legally create your company name, no matter the type of company you create, example, LLC or corporation, you'll need to choose a legal name for your company. So for example, my legal company is Azalee Maslow LLC. You can also have a separate doing business as or a business name. So under your company name, you can have a doing business as name or DBA. You can use this if you're going to have several different business names or if the name you wanted isn't available. So for example, if I originally went in and wanted to name my whole company PrettyAF, but it wasn't available, I could still use the name as a DBA. Again, not a lawyer. Ask a lawyer for legal advice. This isn't legal advice. But I knew there would probably be a lot of different things I wanted to be able to do within my company. And I wasn't 100% sure like what that was going to be. The one thing that I knew would be consistent was myself. So that's why I named my LLC myself. And then I use DBAs under that for the different names of my businesses. So you can use this if you have multiple different names, or if just originally you weren't really sure what your business name was going to be, but you wanted to file that LLC so that whatever you started doing, you could start doing it actually under your company. And then later on, you came to an actual business name. So here are some questions to help you figure out what your company name and business name will be. If you already have what your company name is, or write that down. And then whether or not you think you're going to want to use a DBA, write down what those names might be as well. And again, just keep in mind the tips that I gave earlier, those kind of apply to everything. The next thing that you're going to want to have names for is the names of your products, your offers, your systems, or services that you're selling. So list out any names for those as well. With these, it's kind of up to you how deep you want to go. If you infringe on someone else's trademark, you probably will then have to change your name. But it's up to you if you want to get a trademark for every program or product you're selling, or if you want to have an actual business name as that. It's kind of up to you how you want to do things. But of course, the more things you have, such as a trademark or domain and things like that, the more you'll be protected from someone else using that same name. So once you've chosen your names, you're going to want to create a legal business with your company name, whether it's an LLC or a corporation. You'll want to do that. And if you're going to use a DBA, you'll want to include that in there as well. You want to also grab the domain and social media usernames for your business name, or your doing business name, or the name that you're going to use publicly. File any trademarks that you want to have, and then update the name on anything you have that has your old name. So such as business card, social media, your website, or your email. So that's kind of the whole technical side of all of this. As far as actually choosing the names, I like to look at what are you attracted to? What are things that you've bought in the past? How are they worded? A lot of times, especially with offers, you're going to want to focus on what the person is getting out of it, what they're wanting, what that transformation is that they're wanting, and then naming it something based on that so that they can clearly see that it's going to help them with what it is that they're looking for help for. I also like to think about the future when you're picking names. So for example, how I made my company name, Azalee Maslow, because I knew I would want to grow with it and be able to grow and do different things. If I had named it something that was very niche, like, for example, I started out my company, I did digital marketing for musicians. So if I named it like music marketing as my company name, I would have to pretty much start a new company, or I guess I could do a DBA under that. But my recommendation is to really think as wide and big, especially with your company name. And then you can go more narrow with your doing business as names, and then even more narrow with the actual names of your offers. But with anything with the name you're going to use for yourself publicly and your business name or offer names, just think about it for the future. Make sure it's something that you can actually grow with. And then two, think about that ideal person that would be interested in working with you or buying that thing from you. What is it that's going to attract them, and make it really clear to them who you are and what you do and what this transformation, this offer is going to give them, so that you can really attract them and help them see that you're who they've been looking for, basically. So that's all I have on figuring out what your names are. If you have any questions, comment below inside of my website and I will answer them directly under this video. And like I said, if you haven't signed up for the challenge yet, you can sign up and get access to the workbook and all the replays there. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.